On to our third speaker. Our third speaker has more than a decade of experience in robotics, automation, and software development. He also serves as a resource speaker for robotics and microcontroller subjects in various universities in the Philippines. After finishing his BS Electronics and Communications Engineering at Cavite State University and passing the licensure examination, he started his career as an embedded computing test technician until he became an automations engineer and developer. For 3 years, he shared his passion in the academe as an electronics engineer instructor at AMA Computer College, and also served as a research and development engineer for a joint project of Cavite State University and Department of Science and Technology. He is a member of the Institute of Electronics Engineers of the Philippines and a board member and resource speaker of the Electronics and Robotics Club of the Philippines, or Phil Robotics. Also, the man. Now, you can imagine how nerve-wracking it is for me to introduce him, but I'm also honored to introduce to you my boss in one of the media companies I'm connected with. He is the president of TriPH Media Broadcasting. So please, let us all welcome Engineer Julius Mallari.
Thank you, Sir Rom, for the introduction. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone. I hope that covers everyone in the audience this afternoon. Hello and welcome to this webinar. So, as mentioned, I'll be talking about the IT innovations during the pandemic in the fields of internet media broadcasting as well as robotics. And perhaps everyone would agree with me that all of us are already tired with hearing about the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemics in our communities, in our economy, and in our lives in general. So this afternoon, we'll not talk about the negative impacts of this COVID-19 pandemic, but we'll talk about the positive impacts of this COVID-19 pandemic. And let me just share my screen there. Okay, now you can see my screen, and this will be the topic for this afternoon. And as we all know, if there's one industry that has been uh, positively impacted by this COVID-19 pandemic, and that's none other than the IT industry, the information technology industry. And we're so thankful to these IT companies that they were able to come up to updated processes, and they were able to really geared up and took the challenge and really provided whatever we needed to be able to survive today. Imagine without the information technologies today during this pandemic that we are homebounded, we cannot go to work, we cannot go to school. What will we do? How can we feed our families? It will be very hard. So that's why we are very thankful for these IT companies that they took the responsibility and they really stepped up to provide us all the things and the platforms, the technology that we need to be able to work from home, to study from home, and do everything from home and still survive during this pandemic. And if there's one company that has been positively affected by this pandemic, it's none other than this guy. Perhaps you know this company, Zoom. Yes. So they're just one of those companies that have been positively um, impacted. How can we say so? Well, Zoom has been there since 2011. It was founded in 2011, and then in 2012, but that was the year when they launched their first application, their streaming application or this video conferencing application. And they started really good. In just a year after, in 2013, they had 1 million users. But what happened in 2020? Well, guess what? The number of users they had in 2020 is way more than the numbers of users they had from 2013 up to 2019. So that was a great impact and a great positive impact to them. So as you can see here, they had 488 million users, or their application has been downloaded 488 million times just in 2020. And Do you want to know how their uh, finances have been affected? Look at this graph. Yes. So as you can see there, this is a big increase. That's 732% increase in their finances. Why is that? Well, because they took the challenge, they shifted their gear, and they really supported us in what we need, and that's why Zoom has been very popular nowadays as part of the positive impacts during this COVID-19 pandemic. But what is remarkable about this graph, folks, is that if you look at this graph, during the first section of Q3 and Q4 of 2020, their growth is a bit linear. But then it started to grow at the first quarter of 2021, and they saw the impact, the effect of that on the second quarter of 2021. What does that graph show? Well, it shows that at the onset of the pandemic, they also struggled. They also had their problems. But what happened is that they they were able to come up to the challenge. They were able to upgrade themselves. They were able to upgrade their technologies, and they got the results. And basically, that's the topic that we're going to discuss this afternoon. What are the technologies available for all of us, and what are the challenges that we should be willing to take to be able to get these positive challenges, no matter how long this pandemic would last? And this is very much the same with when we're driving. So you see, when we drive a car, most of the times we have the full control of when we're going to shift our gears or when we're going to shift the lanes. But sometimes it can be forced as well, just like what you can see on that picture on the right side. If that white car uh, cuts in front of you, then you will be forced to brake and change your gears. And that's if you try driving in the Philippines, you would see a lot of that here. So similarly, that is the same thing that happened with technology during these pandemic times. And because we are homebounded, then we were forced to work and study from home. We had to learn how to do it because we're not used to studying from home. We used to have our teachers face to face, and we're used to work physically, going to work every day. Uh, but that brought a lot of positive results as well. For example, we now have more time with our family. So that's one of the positive impacts of working from home during this pandemic. But of course, aside from those positive impacts, it also had negative impacts or challenges. For example, the threats of cybersecurity. Now that we are more online, then we are more threatened by cybersecurity. We have more chance of being hacked or being under trap of this cybersecurity threat. Another one is the um, idea of being left behind by technology, because what happened during this pandemic is that technology went really up really fast, and so if we don't catch up with that, then we will be left behind very soon. And so that would be the objective of this part of my talk. First is we will be talking about the positive results of pandemic, specifically in the fields of internet media broadcasting and robotics. And then we're going to talk about how can you benefit from these changes? What are the opportunities available for you that you can benefit from? And of course, aside from those opportunities, we also have to know how to protect ourselves in the IT world. And yeah, so that's the whole objective of this section of our webinar. So let's begin with the first topic, internet media broadcasting. Now, when we talk about internet media broadcasting, basically it's divided into these three: the print media, internet media, as well as broadcasting. And when we talk about print media, we'll be talking about these things like the digital news and articles, ebooks, blogs. And then about internet media, we'll be discussing about social networking, online forums, podcasts, and vlogs. And perhaps most of those are familiar to you. And lastly, with broadcasting, it's about internet TV, internet radio, and internet movies. Okay, all the things that you can access at the comfort of your homes as long as you have the internet. Now, among all these, for example, going back in the print media, um, one of those that has been there for quite some time already, but really became very, very popular during this pandemic time is none other than blogs there. So perhaps in one of your research, you've come across this blog, tootsplus.com. If you come across that, this is a blog that has been established by Colin Stead. And his topics is about software applications and software design tools. And he makes tutorials on how to use them, like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and all other applications that you can use for productivity in your jobs. And what I like about this guy is that he invites collaboration. He invites technical bloggers as well as a contributor, so they can write articles on his website, on his blog. He posted it, and he earns from it. And of course, I think he's paying them as well in every article that these people writes for him. Now, would you like to know how much a blogger would earn, like this guy toosblog.com? Well, he's earning $120,000 a month. Yes, pretty big amount for a blogger. And as you can see in his picture, he's just doing it at the comfort of his house or wherever in the world with where he would like to work from. He could be working at the beach and earning $120,000 a month. And then another one is this woman, Ariana Huffington. She created the blog HubSpot.com. And the topic of this blog is about news. And then very easily, she became a trusted news site for many people. And that made her the highest earning blogger in the world, earning $2.3 million a month just for blogging. So you see, if you see blogging as a field or an opportunity for you, then why not? Just have your writing skill, set up your website, and have a device that you can use to write your articles. Could be a laptop, simple laptop, or an iPad, or even using your phone. And it can easily become a passive income. I remember one of my previous coworker before, he set up a website and he wrote an article about a certain plant that cures cancer. So this guy, he has no medical background. He never had cancer, but he wrote about that article, an article that he also just found online. So he wrote about that, and then people got interested, and people started asking questions. And of course, he doesn't know the answer. So what would he do? One of the viewers was a cancer survivor, and she used that plant, and she claims that that plant was able to cure her. And she was the one answering questions after questions after questions of all the readers. And you see, she's the one answering the questions, but he was the one earning. So that's what we can have with blogs. It can become a passive income. Excuse me. So the next one that we'll talk about is podcast. Okay, so this is under the internet media. And for those of you who are not familiar with podcasts, basically this is just a digital audio file that you can download from the internet. If you're familiar with Spotify, that's one form or platform where of podcasts wherein um, music producers or musicians can record their music, upload it to Spotify, and then people subscribe to it, and there that's how they earn. So that's podcast. And would you like to know how much a podcaster would earn? For example, this guy, Pat Finn, his topic of his podcast is about smart passive income, wherein he talks about different strategies and providing advice to people in building their online business careers. And would you like to know how much he earns from this podcast? There, $1.2 million a year. Another guy is Joe Rogan, and his topic is the Joe Rogan experience, wherein he talks about anything under the sun, all about his experiences, and because of his very wide variety of topics that made him gave him a lot of subscriber, and became the highest earning podcaster in 2021, earning $30 million per year. So, do you think podcast is for you? Then go ahead. That's another opportunity that you can have. Another topic that we'll talk about are blogs. So this is one of the most common um, field that many people really invested into today, and a lot of people are now on YouTube creating their own blogs. And one of those guys is Daniel Middleton. Daniel is a video gamer, so his blog is about video games. And then while he's playing videos, he makes commentaries like Minecraft online games. And do you know how much he earns in doing that? Simple, $40 million per year. And what I like about blogs is that you can do it alone, just like Daniel, right? And then while Daniel is doing it alone, another option that you could do, if you don't think you can do it alone, you could also do it as a team, just like these guys, the Dude Perfect. Their blogs is about sports, wherein they show some tricks, different tricks about sports, or they would play some sports and video it and upload it on YouTube or other platforms. And there, very easily, they earn $50 million per year. And our winner for the highest earner vlogger in 2021 is none other than this 10-year-old kid. Yes, you heard it right. 10-year-old kid. His name is his blog is Ryan's World. It's about toys and playing, as what kids would normally do. And do you know how much this kid earns? 10 years old, $80 million per year just for his blog. So as you can see, so there's really a lot of opportunities available for us. Another one is, of course, the broadcasting using the internet radio or internet TV, just like these radios available here. So you could have um, newscast that is broadcasted via internet, or you could just play music just like an FM radio would, or you could have an internet TV, just like what TriPH Media is doing, could broadcast it live and talk about anything that interests you or that would interest your audience. So you say these are the available technology, the advancement of information technology, and these are the opportunities available for each and every one of us. Now, while there are a lot of opportunities that has been given by the information technology industry, well, of course, it also comes with danger. So now the question is, how can we protect ourselves from the danger in this IT world? Well, one of those rule of thumb is be careful what you click for. It's grammatically incorrect. It should be careful what you click on. But I just like the rhyme. Yeah, be careful what you click for. Now, why is this important? Well, that's because many of the hackers, the way to get information from you or to hack you or to get access to your device is that they would send links or they would send emails with attachment to you, and once you click on that, then you will be trapped already. They would be able to gain access to your device, so they'll be able to get information. So what will be our thinking whenever we are online? When in doubt, don't click. So when someone, a person whom you do not know, sends you email with link or with attachments, you don't know that guy, first time, don't click it. So rule of thumb, very easily. Another one, always check the URL. Now, why is it important that we should always be aware and always check our URL? I'll show you one. For example, this is a very normal banking website here in the Philippines. The URL is personal.metrobankdirect.com. That's the URL. Now, why should we always look at the URL? If you look at this next slide, would you be able to tell the difference among these two? Aside from the other one is more blurry than the other one. Physically, they look the same, pretty much the same. But if you look at the URL of this one, the original personal.metrobankdirect.com, the other one is not metrobankdirect.com there. And if you put anything, if you type anything, your username, your password in there, hackers will be able to get everything that you type in there. Now, while this is pretty much obvious, as long as you always check your URL, this is more scary, the other one. If you look at this, going back, the URL says personal.metrobankdirect.com. Remember that. Now look at this one. The URL says personal dash metrobank.redirectme.net. That is a different URL. That is not the URL of the bank, and that is a fake website pretending to be the real bank website. And you wouldn't be able to tell the difference by just looking at the picture or the looks of it. You really have to check the URL every time to be able to protect yourselves online. So again, what is the rule of thumb when we are online? Number one, be careful what you click on. And secondly, always check the URL. And always remember, our safety is our own responsibility. So always be responsible with whatever you click online and whatever you access online. Always be responsible. Companies nowadays, they have the so-called CERT team. What is a CERT team? Well, perhaps you are all familiar with the emergency response team, wherein when there's a fire, when there's earthquake, this group of team are trained to handle those situations, fire or earthquake. CERT, just put a C in front of the ERT, is the cybersecurity emergency response team. So they are the ones who would take care if one of those people in the company are hacked. Because what hackers need is just one person in the company that's connected to the network. And once that guy is hacked, then they can have access to the whole company as well. So if you are an individual, be watchful, be your own CERT, and be careful while you are online. Again, your safety is your own priority. So that's the first topic of our discussion. Now let's talk about the second topic, which is robotics. Now, with robotics, we will be talking about there's a lot of fields in robotics, but this afternoon we'll be talking about just these two fields because among the fields of robotics, these two fields are the ones that has been greatly impacted by the pandemic positively, as well as these are the fields that will really make a difference and change our lives in the future, and you will see that later on. And when we talk about Industry 4.0, we're actually talking about industrial automation, talking about Internet of Things, we're talking about microcontrollers, wireless communication. And then when we talk about artificial intelligence, the topics like machine learning and data science would come out. Now, perhaps for some of you, just reading about these words might sound like it's not English anymore. It would sound like I'm not speaking in English, or I'm speaking in another alien language already. It could be overwhelming for some. uh, well, that could be true, but I hope that this next picture here will give you a motivation to give an undivided attention and to really focus on what we'll be discussing on the next part of this webinar. This is the predicted shift in skill sets, pretty much like what Cesare mentioned at the onset of his talk. As you can see here, this is the prediction that will happen uh, since 2016 up to 2030 about the shift in the skill sets of people that will be in demand for the industry. So as you can see here in back in 2016, the most popular skill set are those physical and manual skills with 90 billion hours worked for this. But look what will happen as predicted in 2030. What would back in 2016, the least work skill set is the technological skills. But what will happen in 2030 as predicted? Technological skills will be the number one, will be the top of on the list for that shift. So you see the paradigm shift, that shift in skill sets. yeah, so we really have to think about it. So uh, hopefully I made you think, and you'd be more interested in the next discussion. Well, when we talk about robotics and artificial intelligence, really, uh, the reason the reason why we think they're very complicated is mostly because of what we see in on movies. uh, they make it sound or looks complicated, very, very complicated. But in fact, if you look at the definition of robotics, it is actually a multidisciplinary field that integrates the field of computer science and engineering. And when we talk about those fields, these are the fields that has been integrated by the field of robotics. So, what is the point here, dear friends? It goes to shows that the robotics field is not a one-man job. It's you don't have to do it alone. So, meaning to say, if your interest is into electronics, then you can just focus on electronics and let others do the mechanical jobs, let others do the programming tasks, let others do the wireless communication, data processing, and artificial intelligence, right? Now, if you'd like to focus on just programming or data processing, then just take care about all your data gathering and data analysis, and you don't have to worry about uh, exploding stuff when you misconnect a part of a robot or something like that. So there, it's really not that complicated. It can be learned, it can be studied, and most of the times you don't have to really make from scratch and make a complicated robotic application right away. Usually you would start from these educational robots, and you just program that toy, and whatever information, whatever knowledge, whatever technology that you get from there, you can use that to apply for a real life application robot. So you start from there. It's not very hard. It's not very complicated. And once you get that, then you would be able to make these real life application robots like this vacuum robot and the toy robot, or the companion robot, as you can see on the picture. So you see, that's the role of robotics in the industry, to be able to help people. So instead of you doing manual vacuum of your carpet, you just turn on this vacuum robot and it will do all the jobs for you. And what you can see on this companion robot on the right, some people would buy toys for their kids as their companion, instead of making another baby so that their baby will have another companion. They find it cheaper to to do that. Another application or field of or type of robots is the aerial robots, or what we call the drones. And this one can be used for aerial videography and photography, but it could also be used in a serious fields like aerial mapping or disaster damage assessment, scientific research, or even search and rescue operation, as you can see on the picture. Another fields of robotics that you might be interested into, or you might need to know, is the underwater robots. Wherein, as you can see on the picture, it could start from a play or from a toy, or you could start playing with it, but you could also get really serious with it, used in scientific exploration and research, in preservation of underwater ecosystem, as well as search and rescue. This is widely used nowadays underwater. And of course, um, another field of robotics is these entertainment robots, wherein you make robots just for fun and just for play. This one is a more serious field of robotics, which is the military robots, wherein they design robots to detonate bombs. I mean, to yeah. So instead of putting a person to cut the wire and not to explode the bomb, a robot is being used with that, so less damage is done to the humans. And another more serious field of robotics is the medical robots. As you can see there on the picture on the left, robotic arms are used to do delicate operation, so it will be more precise and less cuts on the patients, so less blood loss will happen, as well as faster recovery for the patient. So that's one of the applications of robots and benefits of having these robots nowadays. Another one, of course, as you can see in the middle on the right of the picture, is the exoskeletal robots, wherein robotic arms and robotic legs are made for the patients. And this is what I really like about this field of robotics, because it changes people's lives, right? So imagine if you lost your leg, it will be hard to move, and it will affect your confidence. It will affect your emotion. But if you put something in there like that robotic leg, then you would be able to change a person's life. And one of the fields of robotics that has been greatly affected and impacted by what we've discussed a while ago, the Industry 4.0 on the artificial intelligence, are these two, the industrial robots. And this picture on the left is a car manufacturing industry, and this picture on the right is a robot that's used in warehouse of Amazon. And I have a video that I'd like to share with you here on how these Amazon robots works. We can ask the help of Sir Rom to play that video.
Meet Amazon's newest holiday workers, the Kiva Robots. At this fulfillment center in Tracy, California, more than 3,000 of them cruise the warehouse floor, helping employees fill millions of orders.
The little orange robot goes out and picks the right pot of inventory and brings it back just at the right time for the person to pick the item out to go in that customer's shipment.
Before the Kiva Robots, the workers used to walk the warehouse aisles picking up the items. But now they stay on these platforms, and the robots bring the shelves and the items directly to them. The 320-pound robots can lift up to 750 pounds. They have motion sensors to detect objects in their way and can travel between 3 and 4 miles per hour. Amazon says the robot's small footprint allows it to squeeze in 50% more inventory into this warehouse, which is the size of 59 football fields. They've also improved efficiency by 20%, so it only takes 15 minutes to fill some orders instead of 90. On Cyber Monday last year, Amazon customers ordered 426 items every second. Amazon expects that number to be bigger this Cyber Monday. The process at an Amazon fulfillment center starts when products arrive by the truckload. The items are sent up to one of the 4 floors where Kiva Robots operate.
In this new generation fulfillment center, we have associates who are taking products off the carts and putting them onto the shelves that are moved by our Kiva robots.
A worker finds a space to stock the item on one of the moving shelves. It doesn't matter if there are paper towels next to board games, just as long as the robots know where to find it among the 21 million items. Then the robots wait to retrieve the item when someone places an order. From there, items are hand-picked and whisked away on miles of conveyor belts to be sorted, packed, and shipped. There's even a robot that folds the shipping boxes. While some may worry about robots taking jobs away from humans, Amazon insists that is not their intention.
You're going to see there's 4,000 people working in this building, even with all the automation that's in place here. That's because our focus on automation is about helping people do their jobs, not replacing people.
So far, 10 of the 50 Amazon fulfillment centers in the United States have integrated the Kiva robots. In Tracy, California, I'm Kara Suboy, CNET.com for CBS News.
Great. So thank you very much. So did you enjoy that video? Well, that just shows how what will happen or what is already happening today, and that will be normal in the future. So this is the Industry 4.0 that I was mentioning a while ago. So we started with 1.0, 2.0, and we are currently at the middle of 3.0 and 4.0. We're in the 3.0. The manufacturing industries have been automated, but with Industry 4.0, every single machine in the factory will be able to communicate with each other. Pretty much like that robot that you saw. It would be able to know where to go, and not hit each other, be able to communicate with each other. And that's the Industry 4.0. And really, the driving factor for the Industry 4.0 is actually the artificial intelligence, wherein you get a lot of so much data in the factory or in the world, and then use that data to make an artificial brain, and to making it the artificial intelligence and making your machine more smart, than before. And if you remember this picture uh, that I showed a while ago, this is one of those that uh, we don't have a control of. We really have to follow, and we really have to make that shift. So um, that would be one of the impacts of this technology advancement for all of us. And so, what would be the lesson? How can we prevent ourselves not to be left behind by this technology? Well, one of my advice is learn to code now. If you are not in the IT field, at least learn even just one programming language. Everyone has to learn how to code at least one programming language. But if you are in the IT field, a minimum of five would do. But if you are interested in robotics, these are my big fours of the programming languages that you would need if you would be in the field of robotics and automation. And with the field of artificial intelligence and data science, these are the most common programming languages, Python and R programming languages. So what's the key lesson here, dear folks? Uh, the IT world is really fast, and it brought us a lot of benefits because we're able to work from home, we're able to study from home, but also it has its danger. So what should we do? Well, we have to protect ourselves, and then to be able not to be left behind, we always have to really upgrade ourselves as well during this, especially during this pandemic. So that's all. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to talk with you this afternoon.